it's Linda, and I'm here for another book chat. And last time we talked, we looked at a classic, a book that was published in 1952, and that is James Baldwin's Go Tell It on the Mountain. So this time we're going to go with something very contemporary, and it is this book, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Okay, written by Gail Honeyman. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Okay. Now this was a bestseller in 2018, 2019, and is still selling really well this year as also. So I really liked this book, and I think first I'm going to talk about the writer, because here's the story on the writer. Gail Honeyman, she led the path that most of us writers would love to read, to walk, that particular path. She woke up on her 40th birthday, and she had always wanted to write, so she decided it was now or never, and she joined a writing group. Well, in that writing group, she wrote 3 chapters of what would become this book. And it was the first time that she'd engaged in creative writing. She'd thought about it, but really hadn't done it. And so she took those 3 chapters and she entered them in a competition. Gail Honeyman is British, and so she entered it in the, I'm going to read this to be sure I get it right, in the Lucy Cavendish College competition. And it didn't win, but in the process of judging what book would win, an agent read it and decided she was interested in it. So the agent took it, and Honeyman finished writing the book, and then the agent started to send it out to see who was interested. Lo and behold, there were 7 publishing companies, big publishing companies interested in this book, and they started bidding on it in an auction, and the figure got up really high, and so Gail Honeyman was the big winner there. So when the book came out, people started to read it, and it gained its momentum through word of mouth. That's really the best way for a book to sell. A reader reads it, and then the reader goes and tells her book club. Another reader reads it and tells somebody else, who goes and tells her book club. And it goes like that, so that the book really can become very successful if it's good. The word spreads by word of mouth. And then the book also got good book reviews all over, and so it's had just a fantastic selling season that made the book sales go beyond the year it was published, which was late 2017. Now I want to tell you a little bit about the book. I think the most interesting thing about this book is the character, Eleanor Oliphant. And here's the combination of things that makes her really an interesting character. Something has happened to her in her childhood, but it's not until the end of the book until we're certain what has happened to her. She does have a scar on her face, and we don't know how it got there. Eleanor does not seem to be terribly concerned about that scar, and it's not like a central issue in her life, although the trauma she has suffered is a major issue in her life, but we don't know what that trauma is. Now, the result of Eleanor experiencing childhood trauma of some sort and being placed in foster homes is that she is very shy, has totally pulled back. We get the impression that she has been institutionalized but now she's living on her own. She has a full-time job as an accounts clerk, and she goes to work every day. She is a survivor because she's come through this childhood trauma and is able to have her own apartment, to have her job that she is loyal to, but she doesn't really have any friends. She is an odd duck, and she goes in, gets to work on time, leaves on time, goes home, doesn't see anybody until the next morning, gets on the bus, doesn't speak to anybody, goes to work, and nobody really associates with her because she's just odd. On the weekends, she has a ritual. She lives very much Eleanor lives by her rituals. So she, every Friday, she buys 2 bottles of vodka. And these 2 bottles of vodka will get her through until Monday morning. So on weekends, she watches a little television and she drinks her vodka, and then it's Monday morning and she starts the ritual of work at that time. I was reading a whole series of reviews of the book, reader reviews of the book today, and some readers don't like the book at all because they think that Eleanor is a sad character. But many readers find her a funny character. I think she's kind of in the middle of that. I don't agree with those people who call her a sad character because she is a survivor and because she has mapped out a way for her to get through. And her life isn't sad because she's still in control of it. She's just not a sad character to me. She is a survivor and one who is determined to make it through, and every time she does something that she hasn't done before, hey, it's a major success for her. And she's very funny in terms of her rituals and what she does. And so I just don't agree with the reviews that find her a sad character. But most of the reviews find her a funny character, an odd character, peculiar, and we would never have the opportunity to walk in those shoes unless we did it in Eleanor's shoes. And we see the world through her eyes, we hear the world through her ears, we experience the world through her heart. Now, a couple of things happen in the book that sort of set everything in motion. She begins going to dinner with the head of IT at her little company, and his name is Raymond, and she'd never been asked on a date, and this certainly was not a date. They just went for dinner. Well, Raymond is in his own ways a little bit odd, and so it's kind of fun to watch those two go to lunch together, go to dinner together. But along about the time that Eleanor meets Raymond, she also she's won some tickets to a musical that she goes to by herself. Sometimes she does ask somebody at work who's a friend to go with her. But at any rate, she goes to this musical and she falls in love with the main singer. Now, he doesn't know her, she doesn't know him, she doesn't introduce herself to him, but she is determined that she is in love with him and that they will ultimately get married. And then one other thing happens that involves a man. When she is out with Raymond and they're walking, he's walking her back home or to her bus stop, this elderly man collapses on the street, and it is through this elderly man's collapsing, because Raymond takes charge, makes sure the man gets to the hospital, And then Raymond feels like he needs to go and make sure the old man is doing okay. Eleanor goes with him, and so that puts Eleanor and Raymond into a regular routine of checking on this old man. Now, we do know that Eleanor's mother is a really mean piece of work. And Eleanor talks to her mother once a week, and something surprising happens, really surprising happens at the end of the novel that just opens everything up. And I'm not going to be a spoiler, so I'm not going to tell you. But Raymond and Eleanor actually make a very nice couple because they're both odd. Now, they don't seem to realize that they are really a good couple. And I frequently do the triangle for my students. And I talk about at the tip of the triangle, the author, at one end, the character, at the other end, the reader. So you have author, character, reader. And looking at Eleanor and Raymond, we know something that Eleanor doesn't seem to understand, and that is that she and Raymond are getting along great, and that they would probably make a really good couple in a really good relationship. But Eleanor doesn't know that. The writer knows, and we know. And so it's kind of fun that we're on the inner circle and we can see that, even though she cannot. And we're just cheering for them. Now, I won't tell you whether she ever gets to meet the singer, and I won't tell you the fate of the old man who collapses in the street, but this is a book that I really did enjoy reading. And some people call it a feel-good novel because as anything positive happens for Eleanor, we feel good. And we're still in that pandemic. This is April of 2020, so we're still in the pandemic. And I think ultimately we feel good in this book, and that's what some readers call it. But it is the first novel for Gail Honeyman, and I think we're gonna be reading more by this writer, and it's a good read, and I recommend it. And so now have a great evening, and I'm looking forward to another book chat. Bye-bye.